Bill Gaither, the cornerstone of Southern gospel music, stood before countless audiences, lifting spirits and bringing people closer to faith through the power of song. But today, the tone has shifted. The man whose name has become synonymous with spiritual comfort and timeless harmony now finds himself navigating a deeply personal farewell. It's not necessarily a farewell from the stage, but something far more intimate, a goodbye, wrapped in quiet heartbreak, shared glances, and the steady grip of time. His wife and creative partner, Gloria Gaither, has recently revealed she is stepping away from public life. And while the family has not shared explicit details, those closest to them know this shift is more than just retirement. It's a response to something heavier, something more final. In a video posted by the Gaither music group, Gloria appeared tearful and frail, her voice softened by age, yet rich with meaning. She thanked fans for their love over the years. But it was her next words that truly unsettled longtime listeners. There comes a time when you feel a tug, sacred kind of calling, to step into a quieter chapter. That quiet chapter? Many. Now, believe is not just about aging, it's about preparing for goodbye. And for Bill, who has built a life beside her for over 6 decades, the farewell is layered with both public sorrow and deeply private pain. Fans have watched them create magic together, songs that spoke to joy and grief, hope and heartbreak. But now, the grief is not only in the lyrics, it's in the pauses, it's in the things unsaid. Gloria Gaither has always been more than Bill's wife. She's been his partner in creation, in calling, in faith, and in love. Their love story began in the early 1960s when Gloria Sickle, a bright and thoughtful young English major with a passion for literature and God, crossed paths with a high-energy music teacher named Bill Gaither at Anderson University. Their initial conversations were not about fame or careers, but about poetry, scripture, and the shape of a life devoted to service. Gloria's gift for language quickly caught Bill's attention, not just as a collaborator, but as someone who seemed to feel faith as deeply as she thought it. They married in 1962 and began weaving together a ministry that would soon touch the world. At first, Gloria continued to teach high school English while Bill expanded his musical career. But it wasn't long before her own gifts began to rise. She started writing lyrics to the melodies Bill composed, and the result was unlike anything the gospel world had seen. Her words weren't just rhyming verses, they were theology wrapped in poetry, humanity carved out of scripture. Her lyrics were personal, raw, and accessible. She captured the struggle of faith, not just its triumphs. And perhaps that's why, when fans hear that she's retreating from public life now, they don't just feel like they're losing a singer, they feel like they're losing a friend who walked with them through their darkest hours. The real turning point came during a moment of crisis in the late 1960s. The world was in turmoil. The Vietnam War raged. The civil rights movement was rewriting the soul of America. College campuses erupted in protest. Traditional values were being questioned. In the middle of this cultural chaos, Gloria was pregnant with their 3rd child. She and Bill were exhausted, uncertain, afraid of the world their children would inherit. It was in this moment of quiet desperation that she sat in prayer and began to write. The result was the hymn Because He Lives, one of the most iconic and enduring gospel songs ever written. It wasn't born from triumph, but from anxiety, and yet it carried hope like a lantern in a storm. That single song changed everything. For the Gaithers, suddenly, their music wasn't just being played in churches, it was being clung to in hospital rooms, funerals, and lonely bedrooms. Gloria's words gave people language for what they were going through. And that's what makes her current silence so profound. For decades, she spoke when others couldn't. She gave voice to pain. And now, as her own voice grows quieter, the absence feels deafening. Those close to the family say she's facing serious health challenges, though the Gaithers have not shared a diagnosis. What's clear is that her step back is not just about slowing down. It's a preparation, a letting go. And as Bill stands beside her, still strong but visibly changed, the farewell becomes not just hers, but his too. What makes Gloria's departure So significant isn't just her musical legacy, it's the life she chose to live off stage. She wasn't a spotlight seeker. She didn't dress for the front row. She never needed to shout. Instead, she built a legacy in the quiet spaces and lyrics written late at night, in conversations with hurting women after concerts, handwritten letters and unglamorous meetings. She raised 3 children, each profoundly shaped by her gentle wisdom and intellectual curiosity. Her daughter Amy, a poet and actress, once said, "Mom didn't just want us to know Jesus. She wanted us to ask questions, to think deeply, to live honestly." That honesty is what made Gloria so compelling. She didn't write about a sanitized faith. She wrote about doubt, about grief, about redemption that doesn't always come quickly. In a world obsessed with platforms and appearances, Gloria Gaither was a woman of depth. Her journals were full of scripture and silence. She mentored not just artists, but writers, thinkers, and preachers, many of whom credit her with shaping their voice more than any seminary ever could. Her home, tucked away in Indiana, became a hub of laughter, late-night conversations, and deep spiritual reflection. And it's in that home, sources say, where she now spends most of her time, resting, writing in private, and preparing for whatever this next chapter will hold. She's no longer making public appearances. Her latest devotional writings have slowed, and while no one has said the word farewell outright, the sense of closure hangs gently in the air, like the final note of a hymn. And so, Bill Gaither is saying goodbye, not with a grand announcement or a tearful press conference, but with the slow, quiet dignity that has always defined his family's ministry. Those who've followed the Gaithers for years understand this isn't just the end of a performance season. It's the nearing end of a remarkable era. Bill has not confirmed whether he himself will fully retire, but those close to him say his focus has shifted entirely toward Gloria. Their once busy tour calendar has cleared. Their appearances at Gaither homecoming events have become rarer. And in recent interviews, Bill speaks less of future projects and more of gratitude, of reflection, of legacy. To see him sit beside Gloria, now holding her hand, occasionally finishing her sentences when her voice falters, is to witness a love story coming full circle. They built a life that shaped modern Christian music. But more than that, they built a model of faithfulness in marriage, in ministry, and in calling. Their legacy is not just a catalog of songs. It's the quiet example of lives lived with purpose. Gloria Gaither taught the world that faith is not always loud. Sometimes it's in the pause, in the quiet trust, the decision to step back with grace. And now, as she enters the most tender season of her life, she leaves behind not just songs, but a spiritual echo, call to live deeply, to love wisely, and to walk humbly with God, no matter how uncertain the road ahead. And as Bill walks beside her on this final stretch, fans around the world watch with both tears and gratitude, knowing that even in goodbye, the Gaithers are still ministering, teaching us through their lives how to let go with grace, how to say farewell in faith, and how to trust that the music doesn't end. It just moves into a quieter key. Benjamin Gaither, the youngest of Bill and Gloria's children, took a path shaped by the same spiritual compass that guided his parents, though he walked it with a contemporary rhythm of his own. As a producer, songwriter, and co-founder of Liveborn Media, Ben has been a quiet creative force behind many of the Gaither homecoming projects, bridging the sound of his generation with the enduring themes of truth, family, and faith. While his musical style leans more modern, the foundation remains unmistakably familiar. It carries the weight of heritage, the echo of his mother's wisdom, and the gentle strength of a home where the sacred was always wrapped into the ordinary. All 3 of the Gaither children speak about Gloria, not just as a mother, but as a spiritual anchor, a teacher whose greatest sermons were often unspoken. They recall the countless nights when, after putting them to bed, she would retreat to her quiet corner, journal open, pen in hand, her face lit by the soft glow of a desk lamp and the quiet fire of inspiration. She turned late-night silence into songs that would one day comfort strangers around the world. Her patience was legendary even in the chaos of buses, stages, and deadlines. She she never let her children feel like they came second to the ministry. Family vacations were simple, sometimes no more than a few days at a quiet cabin, but they were sacred. Meals together were guarded like holy time. She taught them that the world could wait, but families should never have to. In recent months, as Gloria began expressing her desire to retreat from public life, the Gaither family responded not with sadness, but with reverence. They knew this moment would come, the season when the woman who had carried so many would need to be carried herself. Their home has now become a sanctuary of calm, filled with soft conversations, handwritten prayers, and grandchildren pulling up chairs beside Gloria to hear one more story or ask one more question. Her grandchildren, now teenagers and young adults, have taken to social media to share memories of their Nana, painting a portrait of a woman who was far more than a figure in gospel music. She was their storyteller, their listener, the one with a parable in her pocket and a notebook always within reach. They describe her as gentle, wise, endlessly curious. They talk about how she would take ordinary moments making tea, watching a sunset, driving to church, and somehow make them feel sacred. Her decision to step away from public life came quietly, through a soft-spoken video filled with gratitude and a trembling sense of finality, yet that simple message has sparked a tidal wave of emotion from fans around the globe. YouTube comment sections lit up with tributes and tears, messages poured in raw, vulnerable confessions from people who had never met her, but felt as if they had. Gloria's words carried me through my chemo, one fan wrote. Her lyrics were there when my son died. Another shared, my mother played because he lives at every birthday until the day she passed. I still hear her voice in Gloria's lyrics. Churches across the country, and even abroad, held services to honor Gloria's legacy. Radio stations aired hour-long dedications. Entire YouTube channels began curating tribute videos featuring Gloria's most powerful lyrics, layered over images of families grieving, worshiping, healing. What makes this response so remarkable isn't the volume, it's the intimacy. Gloria never courted celebrity. She never positioned herself as a star. But her authenticity made people feel like they truly knew her. She wasn't just the woman behind the lyrics. She was the one who gave their heartbreak a melody, their confusion a kind of clarity, their longing a spiritual vocabulary. In nursing homes, her hymns are still played during morning devotionals. In prisons, they echo through chapel services. In living rooms where old CDs still spin and framed sheet music hangs on the wall, her words remain a steady presence. And now, as fans prepare to let go not of her life, but of her voice in the public sphere, they do so with an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Gloria has not declared the end. She hasn't said goodbye. What she has offered is something quieter, deeper, a model of what it means to embrace stillness, to let go with grace, to rest with purpose. She once wrote that listening is a sacred act. And now, she is living that truth, choosing to listen more than speak, to walk more than run too. Hold her grandbabies and smell the flowers instead of chasing stages and spotlights. And even in this silence, Gloria Gaither continues to minister. Her life, always more sermon than show, reminds us now that there is holiness in rest, in reflection, in saying, I have poured out my cup, and it is enough. As her family surrounds her in this season of retreat, fans around the world hold tightly to the legacy she has left, not in flashing lights or headlines, but in the quiet chambers of their hearts. Her farewell is not carved in stone, is written in souls. And in that way, Gloria Gaither has not stepped away at all. She has simply moved deeper into the lives of those she has touched. Her voice now carried not through microphones, but through the memories and melodies she gave us all.